I like nothing better than making a fresh cream cheese using yogurt, but my equipment is often a mix of oddly balanced kitchen utensils. So I think it's time to design and make my own cheese strainer. I'm using 1.2 kilos of clay for the base, 0.8 kilos for the strainer, and 400 grams of clay for the lid. I'm going to start with the strainer, so I take the 0.8 kilos of clay and center. Then I flatten the clay and push down into the clay to open out. Now for the dimensions, you can download a project sheet using the link in the description below. I start to form the walls and bring the walls up pretty straight. For more interesting functional objects you can make, remember to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our videos. And if you have any ideas for things you'd like to see me make, why not leave a comment below. I bring the walls up to their final height and then I smooth with a rib. For the strainer, I want the walls to angle outwards. And so it'll sit on the base, I need to create an outturned rim. This will sit over the rim of the base. And for that, I need to take an accurate measurement. I trim a little around the base, and then I set aside to dry to leather hard. And so it's time to make the base. The base collects the whey as it strains from the yogurt. This kind of fresh cheese is eaten all over the world. It's such a simple thing to make. So I center the 1.2 kilos of clay, I flatten the clay, and then I push down into the clay. This pot is a little larger. There needs to be enough room to collect the whey as it strains from the cheese. I pull up the walls to their final height. The pot needs to be tall enough to fit the strainer and the whey that's drained from the cheese. And on the final pull, I make sure that the pot is the right shape. The beauty of making things that are functional is that you can make them to your exact specification. I'm making this one to hold exactly 900 ml of yogurt. And I measure the top carefully to make sure the insert is going to fit. I wire through and set aside to dry to leather hard. And now for the final part, the lid. So I'm going to try and perfect my recessed handle. In my last attempt, the handle was a bit too constrained and picking it up was a bit of a delicate operation. This time I'm making it for regular size fingers. And I flatten the clay. So I push down, making the first channel and then the second channel. Now I make sure that the clay around the handle is completely removed. And then I join the inner wall of the channel over the top of the handle and join the clay, pressing it down onto the handle. Remember, I'm making this upside down, so it is a little mind-bending. And then I measure to make sure the dimensions are correct. Now I just form the flange by pressing down on the rim, so the flange can fit into the straining basket. And I don't wire through immediately, I set aside to dry before wiring through. I just want the handle to firm up a little. It might be misshapen if I cut too soon. Okay, let's take a look at the lid once it's dry. And once I flip it over, I can see the handle. So I center. And then I trim, just tidying around the edge and just defining the shape of the handle a little. And of course, I try it out to make sure it all fits. So I'm ready to make the straining holes. I'm using a smaller hole maker and I want lots of holes. And once I finish making the holes, I dry fully. And then bisque fire. It's time to glaze, and I'm glazing the inside and the strainer with my functional white glaze. This is a dipping glaze, so I dip. Now I have to make sure that all of those holes are clear of glaze. I clean any dribbles and then brush glaze on the outside. I'm using a kind of outback beige. 2 coats and it's time to glaze fire. And here we are. The pieces fit perfectly. And I can't wait to see if this works. I line the strainer with cheesecloth. And then I add my 900 ml of yogurt. This is homemade yogurt, but store-bought works perfectly well. You could also add a little salt at this stage. So fresh cheese is essentially the whey strained from the curds. I fold the cloth over and put the lid on. The lid will settle over the first hour or so. I put the whole container in the fridge to strain and set aside for 24 hours. Really, how long you strain determines the firmness of the cheese. After a day, I'm ready to demold the cheese. So the cheese holds together and it's a pretty good shape. And of course the whey collected in the base doesn't go to waste. It's protein rich and can go into smoothies or baked goods. For more interesting functional items you can make on the wheel, why not check out my square bread baking dish? The bread goes perfectly with fresh cheese. And as always, happy potting!